Thank you. Just looking at the gates of your conscious sun and earth, your response to those. And then taking a moment to shift over to your unconscious sun and earth, your 4232. That's finishing and big dreams, following your dreams, following what you know you want to bring into the world. Just notice, are you aware of your unconscious, or do any of these 4 numbers trigger you in any way? Are you resistant to them? Just letting that go and coming back. Again, obviously say whatever you want to say whenever you want to say it, but I heard someone speak yesterday about triggers and how important they were. And she was answering a question. Actually, maybe you were on the call, Eloisa Sumorter. She was answering a question about like trauma. And she said, what happens is there's a trap door, and the trap door gets closed. There's a door between our conscious and subconscious, and it closes so those triggers stay down beneath the surface. We want to open that door back up so that we can actually metabolize and bring those up and process them and have them move through. And that's what we're doing exactly with the 6 steps. So we're looking at, where have we pushed some aspect of ourselves underground because we couldn't tolerate it, it wasn't allowed? Where have we, so it can't be metabolized, that's that distortion lens, right? That's what keeps something in place. Where have we, where are we using our, where are we using our incarnation cross from our egoic patterning, so that we're wanting approval, appreciation, love? So our attention particles are out there, and we're using our incarnation cross to get something or avoid something. Where are we not living our incarnation cross because we want something out there or want to avoid something out there? For example, Yarrow's got the cross of upheaval, and who wants to have that as an incarnation cross, right? Who wants to be the projector that comes in and creates upheaval, right? You don't want that. If you're wanting to be approved, if you're wanting approval, you don't want to be that, right? So each of us have our own challenges. I'm afraid you broke something, Yarrow. Did you break something? She might have broken something. Okay.
Broken what?
Her toe.
Oh.
Okay, she's over there suffering. All right. So that's what we're looking at. We're wanting to use this time to take the next quantum leap with our incarnation cross through the lens of our incarnation cross. So my first thought was, and I don't know, Polly, we didn't really talk about it too much because she's
not talking.
I literally just got her out of bed to come be with us. My first thought was, well, where are we resisting our incarnation cross? Is there a piece of that we're resisting? Just as an access point, the triggers are our gold. We want to see where they are, no matter how subtle they are. We want to see them and find them and open into them. Open that trap door, let them be metabolized, let them be processed. How does this sound good to you guys? Okay, good, yeah. Because there's two ways we can access this, and I know Linda and I studied with this fellow Faisal, and one way is through the challenge, and the other way is to go to the place where you're in awake awareness with the light of awareness is shining through, and you use that. You start at that point. You can start at either point. But today, starting right now, I thought we could just go around and say, like, 30 seconds, a minute, where are you triggered by your incarnation cross? Are you triggered? If so, where? How does that show up for you? So I'll bring up this timer. And I'll set it for a minute. You don't have to use the whole minute, but just we'll just start there and see. So Jean-Vivi, can I start with you?
Oui.
Bon.
I'll do it in French
Okay.
for your enjoyment. Okay, so I don't like the name of it because it sounds LAX, sounds like an airport, but I don't really relate to the name incarnation as an incarnation cross. It looks like okay, but I really relate to the gates 24. It's really answers, process, IDs at seeds. It's, oh no, that's 4, sorry. Looking for the gap between thoughts, just know things. That's 24, and then 44. It's me. It's me, and then 13 and 7, it's even more me. So I don't know. It's like being in the water. Yes.
No reason. I'm not hearing any resistance except for the LAX, the LX.
Except the name. Yeah, it's my silly aspect of it. But no, it feels like, yes, those are things I identify the most with and I even feel this is a very benevolent description of me. I'm not sure I'm raising to that level. Yeah, so not all the higher aspect of my cross are activated, but I definitely aspired for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jean-Vivi.
What's the name of his cross?
It's the
Incarnation 1.
incarnation.
The cross of incarnation.
Yes, so.
Mhm.
Eloisa.
I definitely identify with the name of the cross, the sleeping phoenix. For me, it's about in the moment, seeking spirit in the moment, and the friction for me, as I explore it, trying not to dissect it out too much, is in how it's all set up. I think that die are weighted against me a little bit because the 20, the yin energy is the sun, and the 34, the yang energy, is the earth. So I have to settle this energy of the 20 into that. And then the other side, the 55 yin, is in the 59. It comes down to the 59. So yeah, that's the rub for me.
Interesting. Okay. Everybody get what she's saying? The yin and the yang energies are transposed. So the sun is in the yin energy, both conscious and unconscious, and the earth is in the yang energy. So that's really interesting. Thanks, Eloisa. Hilda.
I didn't think about the name already. The more I'm diving into my incarnation cross, I think it's a funny name for it. Planning tree. I'm wondering what's planning 1 and 2. And maybe what's difficult still is, or I'm in process, I will tell, is the fact to be alone and the alone time that I needed, and it's good for me and for the community. For me, being alone and doing nothing, just being, is not always so easy. So I'm still, struggling with that.
So your son is in gate 40.
Yes.
And there's a struggle with that. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you, Eloisa. I mean, sorry, Hilda. I was looking at you, Eloisa. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hilda. Marston.
So I don't feel too many triggers with mine. I actually get a lot of inspiration from mine, the juxtaposition cross of ideas. At this point in my life where I am right now, I am feeling edges with it. And I wrote down a few ideas here, speaking of, but just waiting for the right time to share the big ideas. And what's been transpiring in my life is really, it is like big idea, and just trusting in that divine timing and trusting in my body and the wisdom that gate 46, the wisdom of my body, and being comfortable in the stillness, like kind of like the arrow being pulled back, and really I'm coming up against those edges of wanting to release it and really like wanting to make it known and talk about it, but not being the exact right time to do that. So that's my relationship with it right now.
So that's really interesting. So, you okay? So we've got that, where you're bringing in the question of type of authority and strategy, right? How do we live our incarnation cross through our strategy and authority? Thanks, Marston. Deborah.
So I really relate to the unexpected.
Right, cross of the unexpected.
Yeah, the right angle cross of unexpected. I have made some pretty radical changes at numerous points of my life that I know have left the people around me often kind of just going, what? Where did that come from? But I have to say that each time I really feel that this comes back to the authority, that I just sort of had to make that change. It was such a compelling feeling. So I feel like I have been, at first I was a little overwhelmed by it, and now more and more I feel like I really have been living my incarnation cross. I think for me it's more about how I think about it, and but I feel like I have been living it pretty significantly. Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah. Barbara.
Thank you. Well, I confess that I originally was triggered by Conscious Earth in 34 and the idea that someone put out there that this channel 3420 was the activity Dakini, and somebody who had endless power and could do anything and everything and produce. And I just thought, I don't resonate with that. I just don't resonate with that. And I had to sit with that for a long time. And what I came to was that I even struggle with the word power that it represented. And, somewhere saw the word strength instead, and that landed for me. And I've come to a place where I feel aligned with the cross as I defined it. And I have now named it the Waking Phoenix. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. I saw that, the waking phoenix instead of the sleeping phoenix. I think I was probably the one that said you were an activity dakini with that cross, and we can talk more about that. Linda.
Hi, Polly. Um, for the most part, I really love my incarnation cross. Like when I discovered I was a projector and all the other stuff, it was very relieving to see my cross. And the left angle cross of healing, I mean, healing was like who I was and that was like, I always was jealous. I wanted the vessel of love. I thought that was better, but I'm good with this. Where I get a little tangled up is my unconscious sun is in joy, and then my unconscious earth is in stillness. So when I really drop into stillness, I access the joy. It's like when I drop into awake awareness, the joy comes, and sometimes I don't feel joyful, and I just don't like that. Like I get bored, and it's like joy. It's like if I'm not in joy, I can be like a curmudgeon, and just it's like it matters to me. And then as I'm saying this, I realize it's just a sign that I need to get still. Just get still, and there it will be. Thank you.
Linda. Karina.
So the right angle cross of consciousness, I don't think it triggers me, although having gate 63 is 70% of my energy, doesn't fill me with huge joy, but I recognize the questioning, the seeking to understand, the evaluating, the noticing inconsistencies. So because I recognize it, it doesn't trigger me, but I have this feeling that it's, when I don't look at the title consciousness, it feels not exciting. Like, was it Linda? I'd love to have the vessel of love. That feels yeah. But then I've seen other things around the cross of consciousness about like initiating awareness, provoking new thought, stimulating consciousness. That feels good to me. So yeah, I think I'm broadly good with it. I believe in the value of of conscious awakening. So yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. Roxanne.
I can say that I am no longer triggered by my incarnation cross. And I shared that before. Polly, mine is the right angle cross of tension. And I realized that the tension I bring helps to make beautiful music because I see where people are out of tune. Like a guitar, you got to tune the guitar, get the tension right. And I love how my other gates support that because I'm realizing I'm not triggered by it, but my incarnation cross, there are challenges with being provocative and with sensing where people are out of alignment. Because that gate 39 of provocation, I have the channel with 55, so I've got the channel of emoting, and I'm kind of wondering how much that causes emotional turmoil in me. And I already have the emotional wave going on, so it can be a bit much sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you, Roxanne. I'll take a minute. You don't want to, right, Yar? No. Okay, I'll take a minute, and if I were looking at my cross for any triggers, I think the biggest oops, that should be for 4131, sorry. Biggest trigger would be the 31, the leadership, being called into leadership, and feeling like I'm not, with open throat, open G, I'm not always seen to be called into leadership. And with that open G, a kind of, there can be an open will, there can be an inadequacy, an underlying inadequacy, challenge with what's that word, when you think you're fake, imposter syndrome. There can be an imposter syndrome that can come with that 31. So any thoughts you have from anything you've heard so far?
No, the curiosity is with the incarnation cross. How does it give you a lens through which to live through, or what's the
It's your life,
description?
it's your life path. It's the biggest energy in your chart. It's your life path. And Ross says most people are not living their incarnation cross because they're not aligned with their strategy and authority. And so that when you tell people their incarnation cross, they oftentimes will not recognize it or
Got it.
or feel that that's really the truth of who they are, or they'll listen to the names of them, and some of them, as you heard, are kind of,
That's the truth across the I Ching. The names of it are archaic sometimes,
yeah.
and just pointers. So I do think it's helpful to have not such a focus on the name of it, right?
And as you could hear, there is comparison. Oh, I wish I had this, the cross of love, or whatever that would be. So that it does set up something like, it can set up something like that. Any sense of what would be a good entry point here?
No, when you first started and you were talking about, I think you were pointing to Sue Mortar's idea about triggers. The trigger is the opening. The trigger is the direction in which to go to see where you're limited, where you have shut down, where you have inserted a conclusion about yourself that's creating the distortion field. So, the old saw that we use that triggers a gold just applies more and more.
So when Marston says, Marston's going through a huge transformation right now in her world. She's left her job, left her corporate job in finance, and she's stepping into the world. Okay, if I talk about you a little bit, Marston, stepping into the world of being a channel, getting information from, sources that are, questionable in the logical world, getting guidance, having relationships with beings that are giving information at levels that the world may or may not be ready to hear. She has the juxtaposition cross, so she's a 4-1, one of those very unusual types that are on their own trajectory. You can't get them off their trajectory. So she's on this path, and the world isn't maybe understanding her path because, she's gone from corporate to this whole nother world, and is now like, and correct me if I've said anything incorrect here, Marston, but is now like coming into the world. I mean, she's major arcana kind of person. And, how does she bring this cross? Her sun is in the cross of ideas. Her earth is in the cross of, this is caution. This is the 12 is like coming off the throat. And it's like, it's here to speak the depths of humanity's experience, but it's cautious because it only wants to speak when someone is available to hear it. They don't want to throw their pearls to swine.
Mm.
So here she is sitting in this, on this gold mine, we could say, or this access place. And when does she share these ideas? When does she not? Who's going to listen? And on the unconscious, her son is in gate 64, the gate of the love of body, and the earth is in gate 25, which is that unconditional love.
Mm.
So she's got all this love in the unconscious, but she's ready to, this 11 is like collective. She wants to share her
Right.
experiences with the world. And she's here to do that. But how can she live her incarnation cross?
Mm.
Right?
So is the throat, you said this is a throat gate?
Throat gate is 12. That's the earth. It's grounding for her to share information, to share her share experience.
Does she need to be invited?
No, she does not need to be invited exactly. There's a caveat. She's a manifesting generator
Uh-huh.
with intuition. Everything's going to her throat. Her sacral's going to her throat. Her spleen is going to her throat. Her identity center is going to her throat. Her root is going to her throat. Hang on, let me move this over. Everything's going to her throat, but the ideas, her son is coming off of an open ajna. So that's, and she's got the gate 43, which is that freak genius. So from that point of view, these freak genius ideas that she has, they're very potent medicine.
Mhm.
And they need to be, she needs to be seen and acknowledged before she speaks that.
Mhm.
So it's here she is.
Yeah,
To,
it's tough.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the trick, if there is one, is to be in touch with a sensing of the spaciousness in which to speak. If there's space in which to speak, which would mean that a sensing of a response to it, a sensing of
Mhm.
the opening to hear, and that can be, I can hear and see, I can hear the dilemma for you is that might be hard to determine what the openness is to hear, but clearly expressing is going to be really important. And my sense is that you probably, especially now as you begin this new, it sounds like a new cycle of the
Mhm.
channeling work, is to, even though it sounds a little risky, is to err on the side of expression.
Yeah.
So Polly, okay, hang on. She has open emotional solar plexus, open will, open
Right.
head, open ajna. Okay.
Mhm.
So again, she's come from a very conservative, Midwestern kind of high finance corporate world.
Right.
Right. And this is like then she started getting all these downloads since the beginning. Human design was already off the rocker, right? Off
Mhm.
off
Right.
the track.
Mhm.
And it's just increased since then.
Mhm.
The experiences, they're really out of many people's realms of experience. So you're inviting her to be on her own behalf
Yeah.
and to speak. That's your invitation. And yet the discerning aspect of that has to be in place too. Or not.
Right. No, I think that it does, but what I'm pointing to is to risk at times, the discernment is
Yeah.
important, but but you need to not be throttled by it, you know,
Right.
because your mind can come in and convince you that should keep your mouth shut when that may not be true. I understand the dilemma.
Right.
I have a similar dynamic in my chart where I need to be invited to speak. And I didn't notice that for many years, but I noticed that nobody wanted to come back a second time to hear me. So the discernment is important, but the practice is to risk, I think.
Yeah. Can I say something really quick too?
Please.
I love what I'm hearing and what you're saying is, and thank you for sharing this. I'm hearing this like being in the spaciousness of being in tune with my body and the unknown, the communications that I am getting, the intuition that's rising within me, and kind of allowing that to be my guidance and to use that as discernment.
Yeah.
Because now I can kind of feel, I'm starting to learn, you know, is this my mind going to feeling like I need to be doing something? Or is it actual intuitive guidance coming through that I'm feeling in my body in the form of my, you know, my sacral yes, in the form of chills, in the form of deep knowing. And I think that's really what, so to your point, Polly, about the risk and erring on the side of doing it.
Right.
What I have been getting these messages, these knowings of, you know, this is the next step. Like, this is how you put yourself out there. And it's to be, I mean, just to be open, the message that I'm getting is to post a TikTok, actually, which I've never done before, but sharing this. And I'm not being given, you know, anything else there. It's kind of like, this is the next step. And the way that it's kind of coming to me is like placing a leaf in the river, not knowing where it's going to land, but just trusting the wisdom of the current.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm feeling from what you're talking about, and kind of just how it's resonating with me too.
Right. And there's a certain kind of litmus test, Marston, that has to do with your motivation. If your motivation is clear, if you're not concerned for results, like with this TikTok posting, it sounds to me like it's intuitively occurred to you, but you don't have a lot on it. And so I think that can be helpful as a direction.
So let me just pause here and say that for everyone with your incarnation cross, what you're pointing to is like, let love radiate without concern for results, right? Like, let your incarnation cross radiate without concern for results.
Always expression. If we have concern for results, that will be an indicator that we're caught in a reactive ego issue in a wounded or a triggered place. And so a full expression without concern for results is everybody probably has had that experience, and that as a test, as a kind of litmus test to the authenticity of the expression. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in. When I heard Polly speak, it was like, oh, I'm just being myself. I'm just showing up. And it really isn't about anybody else. It's just, this is who I am. And this is, how I'm being moved in this moment.
Right.
It's coming back to being, not to doing.
Exactly. Right.
The tricky thing is with anybody who's got the 43, right? Like, there is a discernment too. So we're not putting the brake on being authentic. We're not, but we're not also like, I'm the only person who exists. Right? There's an edge there of of awareness, you know.
Mhm.
There is, and my favorite definition of wisdom is a sense of the fitness of things. You know, there's a certain sensitivity that we can access that is wisdom that has to do with the intersection you're pointing to, which is a sense of the fitness of things. It's a very high level of discernment, and it comes the more that we are not caught in our fear-based ego identity,
Mhm.
when we are freer and freer to show up and to say what's true, because there's less and less of a person here who has an agenda. Yeah,
So
Mm.
that would be true for everybody's incarnation cross.
True.
Again, the less of a fear-based person there
Mhm.
is, the more that we can show up with this energy.
Right.
So Marson, I have a question for you here.
Yeah.
Because here again, Marson, just for everybody can see this, she's got the 61, so that's, Polly also has that. Uranus, that's unusual and surprising, tapping into the mind of God, right? So,
Mhm.
so here it comes in a surprising and unusual way that she's going to be bringing the mind of God through. So the invitation to it, and yes or no is equal here. If there's something that wants to be said here now to this group who has a listening space that wants to come through as a support for this process that you're in, as a welcoming, and I see a baby being born, like, is it
Yeah.
invitation for this birth here to have a voice?
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much. What I was going to say is, and this is, yes, this is what I'll say is, number one, I mean, I was looking at, and Barbara messaged me about this as well, but looking at my Pluto placements, 43 and 14, and that being like where the transformation is born. And then looking at all the other planetary placements as well, just seeing how this is all coming together and culminating at this juncture in my life where I feel like I'm on the precipice of this new cycle of rebirthing this version of me, who I'm meant to be in the world. And as Polly was mentioning, just the fear surrounding that, and Robin, you touched on just the fear of everyone in my conventional life where I'm from. I mean, to them, it genuinely looks like I'm having a psychotic break. Like, they have thought about wanting to hospitalize me, wanting me to get more help, even for just talking about things like human design. And so like that's the depth of like what I'm dealing with in the rest of my life. And it feels like this really just dense, cloudy, like pulling away from that. And it's like they're not letting, like they keep kind of clawing. It's like that scene from The Little Mermaid where all the little weeds in Ursula's cave are like grabbing on to Ariel as she's trying. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Little Mermaid, but it feels like just the claws are coming out and people are trying to grab onto me and bring me back. And I feel like I just have to make my way through the releasing of all of these fears of knowing how I'll be perceived, knowing what the risks are, but having this deep trust of what I know beyond a shadow of a doubt to be true about myself and about what I'm supposed to be doing. That's where I'm tipping into that right now. And it's like I came back from these international travels just feeling so integrated in this, having met people, knowing that I have this community with all of you to come back to and to really feel a sense of home and belonging in, when everything, like my entire foundation was just scrapped from underneath me. And I will say too, having learned, like, thank God human design found me. Thank God Robin's work found me. And then I reached out to you, Robin, of course, when it did, because if I didn't have this incredible tool, this living, breathing frequency of a tool, I would be navigating this situation so much differently. And I really don't think I would have even gotten to where I am right now without it. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's really what wants to be shared right now, is just that I really feel like this next step that I'm taking is, it feels like next week, like this full moon I know is really significant, and the eclipses, like it's just all kind of culminating. And I feel what I need right now more than anything is just to feel that support and encouragement, because I do still have those doubts from time to time of like, I'm trusting in something that nobody else can see and that everybody else is questioning. And I think of like the pioneers, the early adopters, the late adopters curve. And I feel those dangers coming up of putting yourself out there and putting this information out there and how it could be met. So yeah, I'll pause there. I'm so deeply appreciative of this community and just the space that I feel being with you all.
Thank you, Marston. I see your hand, Eloise. I just want to ask you, Marston, if I think you've read David Levy's work.
Paul Levy.
Yeah.
Paul Levy,
Paul Levy.
David Clemens, Paul Levy, yeah, all these
Mhm.
people. So he was 30 years ago, didn't they hospitalize him? They thought
In 1980.
1980, they thought he was having a psychotic break, and he was like, I'm waking, he was good with what was happening, and everybody else was,
Mm-hmm.
his family thought he was mentally ill. So you're not alone in this this journey. So
Thank you.
Eloisa, did you want to say something in relation to Marston?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I almost want to cry. Oh my gosh, what a chart. I could be wrong, but I think the only tribal gates are like really important is like your ambitions for the tribe to succeed. And then like, trying to get the tribe to notice something that's important.
Yeah.
And then everything else is not tribal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Eloisa.
Yeah. It's such a deep level of care for what this information, what this transmission will provide for everyone. And it's like the hardest thing is knowing that they don't want to hear it, even though it will directly benefit them and help them liberate themselves, which I know it's not my job to do that for them. But it's like being driven by this deeper soul level desire to at least just put it out there for when they are ready, if they're ever ready in this lifetime.
Well, let me say it this way so Polly can hear it. Her spiritual path is in gate 54. That's ambition. And she's got the 5432, that whole tribal channel. Eloisa was speaking to her two tribal channel, that she's got that tribal channel, and then she's got gate 26 here to sell something to the tribe. So here we are in the middle of this, and she's got gate 14 as gate 14. Where's your 14? I saw it.
Pluto.
Yeah, transformation. Yeah, and Pluto's also in 43. So here we are in this global economic crash down for 2027. We're shifting everything. So we have a new voice coming in to share something, a new idea of how to deal with this collapse, and nobody wants the collapse, and they don't want the voice that comes in and says how we can generate resources, how we can live financially abundant. And there's a whole, the being in the corporate financial system was like cardboard compared to what is going to come through how I'm picking up anyway, Marston. For
Yes.
for this new place that we're all moving into. So
Yes.
Now that I'm not choked up, can I just say something else? I love the way Polly and Marston talk about how soft this can be, right? How soft and neutral this can be. And it reminded me of your profile, the 4-1. It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna put the leaf in the stream and mother's gonna take it where mother wants it. I'm just here to, you know, to follow directions and be neutral.
Yeah.
And then
That's so.
I see you as very friendly, like a very friendly person. And I see the individual, the 12, and the 25, just so beautiful individualness, very friendly. So anyway, Marston, you inspire me.
Thank you. That means so much to hear. I wanted to just say that's like I truly just I'm feeling so emotional. I've been purging so much the past few days because I feel like this is all coming like very soon. And the fact that we're able to have this conversation and have this space was really unexpected for me. And it just feels so deeply aligned and synchronistic. And I'm getting emotional again. But the 4-1 is interesting that Robin, you had brought that up, and Eloisa, you just brought that up, because I have felt redirection in ways that just in the past few years, in ways that like just have left no doubt that intervention is real, that redirection is real. Like when my partner passed very unexpectedly 2 years ago, and then all these things opened up for me. And then my guides in higher dimensions, extraterrestrials, made full open contact with me and made me aware of where I was meant to be going and what I'm meant to be doing in the world. That then completely redirected me. It's like they lifted me off of the timeline I was on and placed me onto the new one, which completely dismantled everything. And they were like, this is going to hurt. This is going to be really hard, but you have to trust us. And that, if that's not the 4-1 in action, I don't know what is. It feels like a bowling lane with the guardrails up, and my bowling ball has been like blasting into the sides like this whole time. And it's just like, nope, we're keeping you on this course. So thank you.
Deborah, I see your hand.
So I was going to say something that ended up, Louisa touched on putting the leaf in the stream and watching where it goes. I can't imagine coming from the world that you've come from. This is huge. I can easily imagine the kind of reactions of what's around you, but my feeling is just there's so many people out there who want to hear what you have to say and are ready to hear it. You're not feeling that in your immediate surroundings. How could you? But you just came back from international travels. You know. It reminds me a little bit of Suzanne Giesemann. Do you know her?
No.
She's a medium and channel, and she was in the military. She was a commanding officer in the military. And after and she had retired, but soon after that, her stepdaughter died, and that led her on a spiritual path and I know because I've lost close ones, and how that opens you up to the spirit, and just does, if you're all available. But that led her on a path that she's now very well known, but I'm sure that the people in the world that she was in, they're still probably shaking their heads and going, what happened to Suzanne? But she's amazing. She's had a huge impact. Yeah. I'll put her name in the chat. You can check that out.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I truly can't tell you just how serendipitous this whole conversation and space is. It's really hitting me in my heart. Thank you.
So again, I love what you said, Deborah, because Marston, you're that fourth line. You're looking for the network where you can share your message. Here is a network where you can share your message, right? You're going to get there's a spider effect that happens when you find the network that just starts like that stone that keeps, circling out. And the whisperer, you never know when you're going to say something that's going to impact somebody, and they may not even tell you. We don't know on this call who's been impacted, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
To be an expression of one's gift and one's incarnational cross, I guess, but to be an expression without the need to know where it lands or to know if it lands is a place to come from. It often will include the invitation to speak or to share. Sometimes it may not. That's a sense of the wisdom, the sense of the fitness of things, our wisdom, but to let love radiate without concern for results is the highest frequency. And that's where it feels risky, because our entire way of being incarnated has been to have our attention particles out and measuring how we impact, measuring whether or not I'm being received. And we need to reclaim all of our attention particles from out there, bring them back to ourselves, and from this place, trust the love that you are, Marston, for sure, is ready to be pulled into expression without concern for results. Yeah. High bar.
High bar.
High bar.
Roxanne, is this about Marston? Are we shifting? Still Marston. Okay. Good.
Yes, and this is just a thought I'm having. I'm not as adept at reading the charts as all of you are, but going back to, to just the basics. I just resonate with Polly said about, going ahead and sharing, her whatever she's channeling. I think about my cousin. He's a projector and he is a master craftsman when it comes to woodworking. And if he were to always wait for the invitation, like, oh, I can't do any woodworking until somebody invites me to do woodworking, that's not what this is about. He's always making stuff, even though, there may not be a use for it. He just has to make things. And and then he'll get invitations from people to make things, and it's just amazing. And that's how I see, like Polly's encouragement to you, Marston, to go ahead and put your channeling out there on TikTok. If you're gonna channel, you're just channeling and you're just creating, and you're not targeting an audience per se, or like, I need you, Roxanne, to listen to this channel. You're putting it out into the airwaves, and it's going to land where it lands. And then there will be invitations for you to, like speak to groups or, individuals or whatever. That's just how I see it from from a very basic level.
That's amazing. And this is what I need to be hearing. This is, you're reflecting back to me what needs to be reflected back, in a way that I can just, outside of myself, hear this and trust this and reverberate from it. So truly just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah. And TikTok, YouTube, they're different, and I am curious to hear, so I'm going to give you my email and you can let me know where you do it. I'm not on TikTok right now, but I'll get on there if I have to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Marston, you have my email too.
You're gonna have to let us all know. You
Thank you.
post it in the forum if you're going on TikTok or something. We want
I
to.
will.
We want to.
I'll save the video that I make and I will share it with you guys. Oh my God, thank you. I'm gonna get emotional again. I'm so grateful.
So thank you so much, Marston. So this was a good example of looking at our incarnation crosses, right? And getting feedback about it and seeing, well, what would it take for us to live our incarnation cross without concern for results? Maintaining a discernment. This is not like, creating car crashes for ourselves, especially if you've got the 43 or you've got one of those gates in there that you need to be a little cautious about when you speak, or, not taking in the whole chart, but how do we go forward with our incarnation cross? Anyone, is there anyone who would like to play with your incarnation cross or like to get feedback from the group about you and your incarnation cross, or a place that, oh, I see there's a lot of chats. I never even looked at that. Okay. Anyone who, any questions you have? This is all high play. Um,
I have a question.
okay.
And I know that you guys are pure generators, so I take, the invitation to bring stuff up, but would like to leave space open for anybody else who wants to also come in. What I was exploring over this last few days was this idea that the profile can inform the cross and how differently it can. And so we talked about in one of the Q&As that Barbara, Jeanette, and I are all waking phoenixes. And then let's say I'm a 4, my personality is a 4, and I think Barbara is a 3 and Jeanette is a 2. And I kept thinking, I'm like, why? I've been waking up to this 4. Like, I've been waking up to the difference between the 4 and the 6. And I find that I'm not in right relationship with what a 4 is. I feel like the 4 has tones of in my living has tones of tribe, of this it's a networking thing, so you give and you get kind of a thing. And then that part, the 4 part, there's a little friction with the rest of the cross, which is the gates, which are very individual, right? Except for the 59. But even the 59, I think, is it's so yang that it has a tone of some individuality, maybe. But I just, I noticed that in myself. I noticed how I love empowerment. I live for empowerment. I'm waking up through that, and I see the gates and the tones, and I understand those. And when I think about why am I not living more like that, or what is it within me that is adding friction to it? And for me, it's this kind of judgment against standing up and not falling in line, kind of tribal language. So it's not really a red flag or anything. It's just an invitation for a discussion if people wanted to talk about that.
Share with you, Polly, a little bit about her chart and see if we can find the trigger, the place there that we could work with. So manifesting generator, sacral to the throat, spleen to the throat, uh, ESP to the throat, actually root to root to the throat through the spleen, root through the to the throat through the ESP. So everything going up to the throat. Let's speak. Leadership, gate 45, leadership. We've got that 43. You know, and then she's got doubt, the gate of doubt. Incarnation cross is 20 in the now. Earth is 34, action, activity. 55, that like it's the love of spirit. It's understanding that spirit is the source of our supply. So it's that deeply resting back into the universe, the trust of the universe. And the 59 in the earth, which is the one tribal channel coming off the sacral, which is like let's create, let's, you know, it's like sperm energy. It's super young, build something, create family, do something. So huge activation in her chart, complete huge activation in her chart. And what she's pointing to is the profile is a 4-6 profile. So that 4 is like connection. It works within a network, just like Marston. It's within a network. It's the whisperer. It's saying something to someone, not knowing when that is going to have an impact on someone. And then the 6 is the role model, which is a little bit more like the first line in the individual circuitry in a way. It stands a little bit aloof. So what I'm hearing from you, Eloisa, is the conflict with the 4, if there was one, in terms of your incarnation cross. And I may have this wrong, but bringing your incarnation cross into, and it's a sleeping phoenix or waking phoenix, into the community from an individual, that strong individual, stepping into the community in some way, bringing your incarnation cross to the community. Am I off or am I on track in there?
Yeah, it's in the, for me, it's in the context of the dire loaded, sort of like, how come it's not until now that I've been able to, of course I'm doing the course, but that's a big thing, but I'm teasing out the troubles I've had with my incarnation, all this individual or integration and power that has been muted by this desire to belong, to be part of the group, to make sure that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let me just see if I've got this, Polly. So the 4 is being part of, you're as good as your community, you're as good as your network, right? But there's, and tell me if I'm onto this, Eloisa, but in that is also the desire to be part of the network, have a network, be accepted in the network.
Influence.
Yeah. There, and then there's all this individuality, like the trigger of a little bit, and you've got all this tribal channels here, like how to be yourself in the community.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. It's just, and I'm not complaining. I'm just waking up to that in a very good way. I'm waking up to, oh, perhaps the way I'm holding the 4 is not on my own behalf. I'm expecting, like you were just saying, Polly, I'm expecting something from that 4. And just being free of expectations and saying, I'm networker and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to show up. Like Roxanne said, it's in my aura to show up, be kind, be a good little 4 without expecting anything, just trusting that yeah. So thank you. I really am awakening through this course, and you all, thank you.
Was there something from Ra Urahu that had to do with a shift in the collective around the sleeping phoenix? Do you
Yeah,
remember
we're
that?
shifting from the cross of planning.
To the cross of the waking phoenix, I think is a good, that's a good edit, edit of-
reframe, yeah.
for sure. But when was that?
Twenty
shift?
27. That's the 2027
That
shift.
is?
That's it.
Who knew? All
Oh.
right. Okay. I think of it as being the dragonfly, but I'm good with the phoenix.
Yeah, Richard Rudd has a dragonfly image. Yeah, so we're shifting from that tribal agreement place to that individual being on your own behalf place, which is kind of the edge you're talking about,
Exactly.
Eloisa.
That's right.
How do you be on your own behalf and serve the community from that place?
Well,
Without expectation is what I heard.
Patience,
Yeah,
yeah, without
yeah.
concern for results.
the thing is to focus on what is your highest vision for yourself and to trust that that's the highest possibility of what you offer into the collective, because that's what's true. When Jesus said, as you do it unto the least of these, you do it unto me. For most everybody, the least of these is oneself because of that early wounding conclusion, I don't matter, I'm not good enough. And so the correction has to do with moving into authenticity, into expression on one's own behalf, not because we're needy, not because we're lacking anything, but because that is the highest frequency. And we can trust that to support the tribal, to support the collective, to support everything, because that's the highest frequency. We've self-abandoned, and that's the error of the difficulty in this creation.
Thank you so much. That was really, really good.
That touched the point that you were needing touched, right? It's like an acupuncture needle went in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Eloisa. Anyone looking at the place where their cross doesn't resonate with them, or you want more support with resonating more deeply with your cross? We have about 15 minutes left. You doing okay?
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna put her back to bed. Canceled her day except for us.
I have a question. I haven't got much of a voice, so I'd just like to ask it. I noticed that all of my incarnation cross gates are in the collective, and there's a balance between right and left brain logic, right brain sensing and logic, and they're all in undefined centers. So I was just curious if you could shed a light on that, because I too, like Eloisa, I'm a 4/6. I think I have a fair bit of individual knowing gates. I was curious how the collective, the significance of that. Yeah, seems quite significant.
So I want to stay away from a head explanation here. Like more information, I really want to use our time with Polly to see what is there something that's niggling you about this? Is there something that's like, this is hard, or what is it? What's behind your question?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that there's an individual, like it's a right angle cross, it's a personal journey, as I understand Destiny. And so I'm thinking, like, what's my place in serving the collective as opposed to raising my own awareness and that being, touching other people?
Okay, I think I have a hook for Polly. Okay, so her incarnation cross is all collective energy.
Mm.
So here she is here to share information with the collective. And correct me if I don't have this quite right, Karina. There she is to share it with the collective. Where does she fit in there? Where does she exist in that? How is she on her own behalf in that? Do I have that? How am I doing, Karina?
Yeah, that's right, and especially also as a projector, who's
Yeah.
got to be waited to be wait to be invited.
Gotta wait to be invited. Yeah. Oh, you know, very open head, ajna throat, G, sacral, will, you know, just the bottom three centers are defined. An individual channel and a tribal channel. The tribal channel is the 5432, it's the channel of business, but it's also the channel of waking up. It's both of those, it's transformation. And then that 3955 is that provocation to wake up into spirit.
And she has that channel.
She has that channel, yeah.
What are the centers?
It's the root, spleen, and emotional solar plexus are defined. But the sun is in gate 63, doubt. The earth is in gate 64, confusion. Heidi has those two, left and right brain. And then the unconscious sun is in 5, that's logical. Again, each one of these are logic and then sensing. So right and left brain, rhythms. And then the earth is in 35, which is right brain, which is progress, which is you know, jack of all trades, stepping in and wanting to be in the now, in the present, in aliveness. So we've got this doubt and this doubt, okay, this smart doubt of like, how do we go forward here? And then this confusion of looking at the bigger picture and waiting for downloads and understanding things from it's grounding to understand symbols and dreams in the past. And then the unconscious sun, finding a rhythm, finding a pattern that's going to be a natural pattern that's going to be supportive. And the earth is, you know, being present, going forward.
Yeah, well, fundamentally, my sensing and my approach to human design has to do with we will all be living from our not self until we've cleared the triggers that bring us home to being on our own behalf, expressed through our design. So with that said, the entry, the opening into our highest expression has to do with using triggers to clear out where we are thwarted, where we are limited, where we are self-denying. So what we have, my sense is that whenever we are awake to our true nature, we will have the natural expression through our design at the gift level or sometimes even the city level. But that the work for everybody until that awakening occurs has to do with the triggers, because those are going to be the distortion through which your wounded conclusions about yourself are experienced and given, and you have access to them. So that's the overall picture of my sense. My sense about human design is that when you're freed, which happened for this body mind unit 15 years ago, when you're freed of the ego distortion, then you will move into an easy expression through your incarnational design because you chose it, and it's the optimum potential for this incarnation experience. So looking at triggers will always lead you to the impediments of that you may tend to attribute to your design or a limitation there, but there are no limitations really. I do call our human design the power of limits, but we're opened into that power through clearing our triggers.
So let me pause you for a second. So here we have someone who's a projector, has to be invited, and they're here to all that collective energy is about sharing with the world.
Right.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're pointing to the triggers that come in that dynamic.
Right.
To clear the triggers that would say, because I'm a projector, there's a problem with me sharing this, that let's see, a 4-6, maybe I won't find the community to share that with, whatever those stops would be to let that come through.
Well, the triggers are going to show up, and typically all triggers show up in the dynamic of personal interaction, regardless of your design, whether you're a projector or a generator, whatever. So it'll show up. If I'm triggered, then that's going to lead me into something that I installed that created a distortion lens through which I see my reality. This is as viewed, so appears. That distortion lens is the way we see reality, looking like, oh, he looked at me funny, or she didn't speak to me when I saw her at the health food store, or whatever. But it's our way of seeing. So all of those can lead us to clarity, and that clarity will be the reveal of our easy and authentic expression through our design.
So what you're saying, so I'm going into a big picture of, oh, she's collective and she's a projector, and you're going to, where are you triggered in your relationships? Let's clear out the
That's right.
triggers, and that will take care of itself.
That's right, exactly. And it does. And that's why, because we'll be triggered in the places where things have gotten hidden or thwarted. We'll be triggered in the places where we have installed a conclusion about ourselves. It may or may not appear, it will be in correlation to our design, to our incarnational design, but it clears up directly with triggers.
Okay, I'm just going to say this again because I want to make sure I got it.
Yeah.
So if Karina is having a challenge with her boyfriend,
right,
she clears that challenge up, it will lead to living her incarnation
absolutely,
cross.
absolutely.
That we don't go to living the incarnation cross and figuring out how to live it. We go to where are we triggered, and that is stop blocking the flow of this energy.
That's right. Now, oftentimes what we found, and we found this in the class we did, is that the triggers will be related to the design. You know, you can see a place in the design where you're likely to be triggered. I was triggered when people wouldn't listen to me because I didn't understand the way in which my throat center was to some degree a projected dynamic. So I needed to be asked, I needed to be invited until I understood that. I understood that when I found my design, which was an opening into why there'd been a trigger there my whole life, right? So there is correlation there, but the easiest and most direct access we have to the limitation is going to be through being triggered.
Are you guys all getting this? Because this is big. What she's saying is really big. Karina, does this make sense to you? And how is this? Let me just ask you an open-ended question. How does this sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, I get that triggers are where we can bring healing, and what I'm hearing is and clear the distortion, and what I'm hearing is that then will provide clarity on my incarnation cross. Yeah, yeah. Well, might free me up more, because wherever we have distortion, we're sort of holding ourselves smaller than we really are. I don't know. I guess I just need to let it land.
What she's saying is, where you have a trigger, it impacts everything. It creates your distortion lens. It stops the flow of your river. Your flow can't move through you. The energy, the light that you're meant to shine gets dampened, clouded by by that trigger, by that distortion lens. It's like that trap door we talked about at the beginning. A door gets shut and the light is not allowed to move through. So you work that, you free that, you liberate that distortion, and then your incarnation cross, your chart has its free flow. That makes sense, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Karina. I do want to say something. Let me remove your spotlights. Thank you, Polly. That was I'd say that was clarifying. You guys think that had some clarification in it? I wanted to let you guys know that we are going to repeat. We're going to redo the reteach the centers course. I know most of you were in that course. It's available to all of you as part of being in the training. And it's going to create a slight shift here. We're going to start in May. It's going to be on Fridays. So this class, instead of being an hour and a half, will be an hour and 15 minutes. We will take a 15-minute break, and then we will have an hour of the centers. And the centers will be every week, and this will be every other week. Okay, so you're going to get, there's more, you'll get more. Okay, Deborah.
So yeah, just to clarify, so the center's module that's at the early in the program, that those of us who are in year 2 will get that,
Yes.
in a few
You're gonna
months.
get
But
still
this
get
is going to be inserted in the meantime.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the awakening aspect of the centers. This is yeah. And it's through a different platform. It's through the Go High Level platform. So, but we'll talk to you all about that, but I just wanted you to know you had that. All right. Let's just take a moment for just put your hands on your hearts again and just check in. What am I taking away? Can I let myself see what am I taking away from this time together with myself, with Polly, with each one of us, with Marston and Eloisa and Karina? What is there a sentence or a word that I'm taking away here that I want to anchor the light that I've received or the insight that I've received? And I'm just going to call on people and we'll just go around as a closing. I'm going to start with Jean-Vivi again. Jean-Vivi.
What I'm taking away is that I don't have to change myself or my incarnation cross. I just have to clean up my perception of it, and triggers are helping me do that.
That's a nice summary. Thank you, Jean-Vivi. Roxanne.
Got a lot of thoughts in my head right now.
Word or sentence?
Free expression.
Free expression. Okay, thank you. Karina.
Prioritize triggers.
Yeah, thank you. Linda.
My head is buzzing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hilda.
Clear the triggers and letting go of understanding everything.
You got it. You just won the lotto. Marston.
Centered and supported.
Great. Barbara.
Radiating love with no regard for the outcome.
Eloisa.
Put my leaf in the river and let go.
Deborah.
To let love radiate without concern for results, which we've all shared a version of, several of us, all of us.
Yeah, and for me, I just have so much appreciation for you, Polly, that you showed up today, and what you bring is just, you just up level everything. So I'm just still in awe of the capacity of your diamond body to see clearly without the distortion field what can be seen and how we can see. Any last words from you?
No, everybody did such good work, and the willingness to allow everything to come forth is it can be a high bar because of our concern for results. And in giving that up more and more, we come into more and more freedom of expression and the fulfillment that comes from that.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Love you. And we are in the 32, 32 transits, completing cycles, starting new cycles. So perhaps we're starting a new cycle of radiating love without concern for results.
Beautiful.
Putting our leaf in the water and letting it do what it does. All right, you guys, love you. Mwah. Take care. Bye-bye.